Really excited about this week's podcast. With me, Dr. Craig Duncan. We're going to talk about monitoring, and this man has spent more time collecting, analysing and using information from athletes than probably more sports scientists in the world. I'm going to throw that out there. Craig, how are you, mate?
I'm very well, Greg. How are you?
Good. Let's rip in.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Body Science Podcast, bringing you everything you need, want and should know about health, fitness, nutrition and training. As always, the information contained in this podcast is for the information purposes only and is not designed to diagnose or be prescriptive to treat, prevent or manage any injury, disease or other health-related condition. Today's podcast is brought to you by Hydroxyburn Shred Ultra Nootropic Thermogenic. Shred Ultra is scientifically engineered to shred body fat, ignite metabolism and boost all-day energy while enhancing cognitive performance, focus, clarity and mood. It combines powerful fat-burning thermogenics, garcinia, green coffee bean, guarana, caffeine and an industry-leading 4 grams of acetyl L-carnitine with potent nootropic ingredients and effective therapeutic doses to give you maximum results.
Welcome to Body Science HQ, the world of fit, happy, healthy. And today at the end of this, I'm going to add monitoring. So monitoring is listed as a systematic process of collecting, analysing and using information to track a program's progress towards reaching its objectives and to guide management decisions. So with me is Dr. Craig Duncan, and we first met, how many years ago now? Like we've said this on a few podcasts now. It was
at least 10. A long time.
And at the time you were monitoring, doing a lot of monitoring with the Socceroos, weren't you? Like that was...
No. The first instance when we met, I was with Sydney FC in the A-League, so I was doing work with that team at that stage. Yeah,
and you were monitoring back then?
Yep. When I came in there, I implemented a monitoring system, and hadn't been done there before, but it had been part of sports science for a number of years. But yeah.
So pitch it at me. I'm a coach. I've got my coaches, my assistant coaches. I've got all my performance people. Why should I care about monitoring?
Well, firstly, how I would ask you, how would you know that your program's actually working?
I'm a good coach, mate. That's how.
and how do we know that how your athletes are responding?
Yep.
So look, one form of monitoring is testing.
Yes.
So a lot of the people listening would be familiar with testing. Okay. So when you start a fitness program, you might do some basic tests to see where you're at. So you might weigh yourself and you see, okay, there's my weight now. And if my goal is to lose weight, each week I might look at my weight and use that. That is a form of monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
I just take it to another probably level as far as monitoring on a daily basis. And we can monitor anything that we want, what is important in respect to achieving the desired outcomes. It's all about identifying whether is what we're doing going towards the success that we want it to be. That's it. Are we on track? And you do it in business? Well, you need to do it in business. We need to do it in all areas of our life.
So, mate, and I'm going to throw it straight out there now, where is sports monitoring at? And I'm not talking about in the gym lifting weights. We all know that. We all do that. We know where that's at. I'm talking about the monitoring that doesn't get the glossy, beautiful, look at my bench, look at my jump height.
Okay. All right. So let's give an overview. We've got basically pre-training monitoring, in-training monitoring, and post-training monitoring. So if we look, most people would do some form of monitoring in training. So in sport, that might be, okay, what is happening in the training session? So GPS is used a lot. How many, what's the distance that we ran? What was the, how many high speed meters we did? What was our heart rate during that session? Okay, that's one thing. That looks at what actually happens in that program, during the training. So a lot of people just do that.
That's a 101 where you get that.
Yes. And then so after training, we'd assess that data and look, okay, what was the outcomes of that session? We can look at all that information. But what's important is, sport is made up of individuals. So not everyone is going to respond exactly the same to that given program. And then there could be environmental factors, stresses, sickness or injury, etc., that might come up from that session. So AM monitoring or pre-training monitoring looks at, okay, did that person respond exactly the way we wanted them to? So by just asking some simple questions, collecting some basic data, and that is that athlete now ready to do the next session that we have prescribed for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a cycle, isn't it? It's a holistic approach to athlete management or athlete athlete training. And so what we do is, rather than just go, okay, we're going to do this session, we predict what that session should look like. So say if it's a field-based session for a rugby league team, a soccer team or whatever, then we know exactly what the outcome of that session should be. All right. So that's what the prescribed outcome should be. We forecast it. And then you conduct the session, and did that meet your forecast? And then did the athlete respond the way we expect them to? So that's the cycle. Mm-hmm. And so in the morning, when they put in some information into our app, what does it actually say? Are they in their optimal zone? Yes, they are. Okay, great. Today's session is X. They are ready to go for that session. So it's about maximizing their potential, maximizing their performance, but there's a big part of it that prevents injury as well.
And that's a bigger play these days in the monitoring as performance?
Yeah, it's a huge play because, teams win when their best players are playing. Mm-hmm. If they're sitting out on the bench because they've had an injury, then there's a lot of money being spent on players that aren't doing what they're meant to be doing. Okay. And so that's the core of it. I don't like to have a focus on injury, but just by having a good monitoring system, it will prevent injury and maximize performance.
And so, mate, what are some of the ways teams are monitoring people now? Like you mentioned the word app a second ago when we put into the app.
Yeah, so most teams would have what we call an athlete monitoring system. So that they would have a system where a player wakes up in the morning. There are some identified questions that they would answer. Depends what level the athletes or the people are working at. It could be that they're using some form of device as well, where that information goes straight up into the cloud that gives us overview of information on that athlete even before they get to training. All right. So before they walk into the training door, we've got that information. And if you've got the right basic algorithms and calculations, you might be able to identify, yes, they are in their optimal zone. They're outside their zone. Might be a conversation just like, Greg, what's going on? This is a little bit, how are you feeling? I might want you checked out by the physiotherapist. Are they okay to train or are they not? Or do we need to modify their training load today?
Okay. So you're doing that before they even hit home ground for their first session of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I've been doing it for a lot of years, and it's been a cornerstone of my strategy that I work with. A lot of people, where is monitoring at? It's like one of those things. I think a lot of people do it just to tick the box. A lot of people don't believe in it maybe as much as I do, and they think it's just, we can do it another way. It's sort of gone through the trendy stage of it, and it's gone down. But I'm more than ever it's very much a powerful part of our strategy.
So you mentioned that there's a lot of keeping players on the field is where the money's made. What are the stats, or do you have any data in relation to people who monitor versus non-monitor, and does it really work?
Well, I think so. Look, I only have my my own stats, and I'm not going to I've never been one to be too. I respect what other people do, but I'm not really that interested. I really very much respect them, but I don't have my eyes on them. I look at the literature or the research out there and what's actually happening. And so I know what my statistics are from implementing a monitoring system and how much that can decrease the risk of injury and increase performance. And it's significant. And there's a number of papers out on work that we did with the Socceroos. And please let me say that it isn't only monitoring. All this is a holistic effort from the sports medicine team, the coaching staff and everything. If you look at pre-monitoring, we're fortunate enough to have some data on that with the Socceroos. And then when we came in, implemented a 365-day monitoring system.
Wow.
So every day that the athletes were not with us, they're only with us, a certain part of the year, we would still get them to put this data in. And a lot of people would say that was overkill. They don't do that now. We're not with them now. And that's absolutely whatever their strategy is okay. But it's something that I did every day and I still believe in. And from that, from the statistics from the 2014 World Cup, injuries there to the 2018 World Cup, there was a major difference. And we had very minimal injuries in 2018. So, I think there's copious amounts of data that demonstrates that it's positive. But Greg, you always got to be aware of your bias, and I believe in it. So it's something that is an integral part of the strategy that I work from.
Well, mate, I assume having athletes the caliber like Tim Cahill on board who still come to you for advice on what to do and when to do shows that somebody believed in the monitoring part of what you were doing there.
Yeah, and look, that's part of it as well. A monitoring strategy is only as good as the buy-in getting from your athletes. And so I think a lot of people make the mistake in anything, and this could be personal trainers or whatever, they don't communicate with their athlete or the people that they're working with and give them the why. People need to know, why am I doing this? And once they know why, and then also that data is being returned to them as insight and to the coaching staff, then people get it. And that's I think the key part. This is all about relationship. Yeah, I have a background in science, but for me, science is just maybe a small part of what we do. It's really about, can you communicate that message effectively to, one, to get people to buy into what you're doing, and two, can you communicate the data that's coming from? Data is a vehicle for us to make important decisions.
Nice. And recently you've taken the learnings from the athlete world and transferred that to the executive world. And I mean, you're talking the same type of thing, large pay packets, people that, high earn risk, CEOs of companies that, you can start to work out, hey, we give this guy another 6 months, they're going to be looking for a new CEO. So do you see the monitoring between what you've learned in the athlete base to be very similar to a corporate executive?
I feel so strongly about this, and I've been talking about it maybe for 6 years now. It really hit me that it is more important, because let's look at a corporate executive or someone like yourself, a business owner, an entrepreneur, a founder. They've got a lot of people's lives at stake.
Yep.
And if they're not in their optimal performance zone, if they're not making the right decisions, if they're not being monitored, in my view, who is looking after you? And I am so passionate about it that it is so important. And I've seen it, and I've done trials on this. I've monitored yourself. I've monitored Nath as well. And just to identify, okay, this is where you're at today. These are some things. Firstly, it can identify, all right, sleep isn't right at the moment. Stress levels aren't right. What do we need to do to adjust those? But also on that acute level, on that day when you walk into the office, that I'm not in my optimal zone. Yeah. So it increases your self-awareness to be very conscious of decisions you make on that day. And now I see numerous executives that are in high stress environments more than ever because of COVID-19. People have been pushing. The other thing is, a lot of high-end executives are taking a lot on their shoulders, but who's looking after them?
Yeah, nice.
And by simply them putting in basic information, using some of the technology that we use, and with how we manage the data, and coming back with sound insight, I will go as far as to say that it can absolutely make all the difference to any organization. And we've shown this not only in corporate, university students with stress, school students, all these different range of people that it can make a difference. If you want to make a difference to your organization right now, if you want to retain good talent, if you want to get the most out of your talent, then one of the easiest ways to do this is to monitor your people.
So let's just step back, and you mentioned myself and Nath there, and obviously that's two very different people when it comes to monitoring results. What did you find so monitoring with me would be well over 12 months. What have you worked out from monitoring me? And there's one thing I do want to say here to everyone that's listening. Craig will contact me on something before I contact him. So he will come to me and go, Greg, you're not sleeping, what's going on? And that doesn't happen much for me because I don't struggle with sleep. But Nathan, for example, he does. And you would often come to me and go, mate, you're not feeling good today. What's going on? And I go, well, it's really nice of you to call, mate, but what are you doing? And I would forget that you were monitoring us. So what type of things did you find? And I mean, that's really basic level stuff I'm telling people there. What type of things did you find from monitoring me?
Well, look, the thing is, we've over many years of doing this, we've collected an enormous amount of data. And I mean, enormous amount of data to be very confident in our algorithm to identify where someone is in their what we call their performance index, and then be able to identify someone's optimal performance zone.
Excuse me.
So then yours is very good. Like monitoring you was very interesting, that you really are on top of your game in most instances. But however, the way we set it is, if you do touch out of that zone, then it flags us. Mm-hmm. And so we will get an alert for you that there's something just out of it. So I would find with you, I would know when you're pushing very hard at work. So I know right at the moment you're pushing very, very hard.
True.
Okay. So I know that. And there's there's things that come up in your data that will show that. There's things that come up in our conversation that will show that. And so it might be then that's a leadway into, okay, what are we doing at the moment? Okay, you're pushing hard, but are you getting the right amount of sleep? Have you got the balance? Where are your stress levels at? And when is your next break?
Yeah,
that's important. What have we gotten in the next little period of time? Because you can't keep going like this, otherwise you'll burn out.
Yeah.
So it's just exactly like sport. It's exactly like training. Work needs to be periodized.
Yep.
And people talk about burnout in the workplace, which is enormous. The reason is because there's no periodization.
Yeah,
and
true.
Also that we invented a measurement of what we call workload. Looking at how stressful someone's day is, how many minutes or how many hours they're working that day, to start looking at that and going, okay, you're on the way to burnout.
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about. It's true wellness in the workplace. My thoughts on the corporate wellness industry. I think it needs complete disruption, and disruption in a positive sense to make all the difference. And I know this is a cornerstone to it.
Well, mate, let's talk about that. How do we disrupt that?
Well, the basic thing is we have organizations like yours that are willing to trial this to see how it goes and to have a full holistic approach to your people. If people and Body Science, we all know, is one of my favorite companies, and you and Nath are fantastic. And so it's organizations such as this that really care about their people. So my question first, do you really care about your people? Because I don't work with anyone that doesn't. Now, and that's why
people first, mate. People first.
But a lot of people are concerned with the monitoring because they think it's like Big Brother. And so the organization's going to look at this data.
We're not monitoring when you start and stop work.
Yeah.
Although we are monitoring how many hours you do at work, because we do want to know when people are pushing limits.
Yeah, absolutely. So I first, when I speak to organizations, this is about your worker. This is about the people in here, about the best thing for them. That's what it's about helping them to get to maximize their life and maximize their potential. And by doing that, you will get a better worker. So that's what it's about. It's not about saying, okay, so-and-so's stress levels are really high or they've got psychological. No, it's not about that. It's about the individual, bringing a great culture to that by working on each individual. So that's how we go about it. And it's about organizations, I think, thinking outside the box. It's absolutely, a blue ocean thing. It's new. Because there's a lot of corporate wellness programs out there, and they're positive, where people come in, they do a talk, or they might do fitness testing, or they might put a yoga class on, or they might do this, or they might do that. They're all great initiatives. However, the cornerstone of it is your monitoring, because how do you know they even work?
Yeah.
So basically we come in and go, okay, what's a basic variable that's important to you? Sick days. Okay, let's implement our monitoring system and see what we do in respect to reducing absenteeism. Can we do that?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty confident we can. And then you've got all the other things. People talk about culture all the time, and culture starts with leadership and also starts with individuals bringing their best self to them. So it's just about helping people to understand themselves. And that's, my book, Self-Science, is all about self-awareness, knowing thyself. And there's a whole chapter in that about monitoring, because that's knowing your state, knowing where you're at each day is so vital.
Yeah, I love it.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Hydroxyburn Shred Ultra Nootropic Thermogenic. Shred Ultra is scientifically engineered to shred body fat, ignite metabolism, and boost all-day energy while enhancing cognitive performance, focus, clarity, and mood. It combines powerful fat-burning thermogenics, Garcinia, green coffee bean, guarana, caffeine, and an industry-leading 4 grams of acetyl L-carnitine with potent nootropic ingredients at effective therapeutic doses to give you maximum results.
Is monitoring just not financially viable for small Australian business?
It's absolutely viable. If you're a personal trainer out there now, or you're a small business, you're a gym.
Yep.
So say you're a gym and you want to improve your service. You monitoring your clients, throwing that in as a service, and we can do that. We can work with you on that. And it's basically, I say to organizations, is your employee worth $1 a day?
Okay, so you're talking that's the investment. We're not talking silly money. That's worth every cent, every dollar, as you should say.
Is your worker, if we reduce basically 1 sick day a year, it's probably paid for itself.
So if somebody's out there and they're thinking, gee, this interests me. How do we contact you on this?
Well, you can go to, our company is Performance Intelligence Agency.
Yep.
And you can go to that website, but you can email me directly.
Do you want to tell me the website before you say you can go to that website?
Yeah, you can go to performanceia.com.au, or you can go to drcraigduncan.com.au to contact me, and then we can go from that. But it's really our company that does this, Performance Intelligence Agency. That's where we really work on this. And I'm so passionate. That's why we've tried to make it really affordable, and even like only having a minimum number of employees of 10 or clients. So just imagine as a personal trainer how this is going to improve your service. Or if you're a gym, your clients might only see them once a week, but you're staying in tune with them, you're getting the data, and you're being able to identify where they are in respect to their overall performance.
Oh, it's daily points of contact. So those people that are looking for value in the sales cycle as well, that $1 a day for monitoring is actually a great sales tool for somebody in that profession as well. So
and that's what we charge.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we charge. You can charge more.
Well, it's $1 a day now, mate. It's on a podcast. It's out there.
But the thing is, what we do too, that is our area.
Yep.
And then it molds into courses and coaching and all that. I just think, we've got it all wrong because I can come in and do a fantastic talk on self-science or on exercise, and I'll do a great talk on that. And then I'll go away. It's a complete...
And everyone's pumped for 2 days and it's back to norm.
Yes.
Yep.
And me, I'm into, let's work together for 12 months. Let's do it, and I will show you the benefits, and you get great value out of me. Like, rather than paying a lot of money to give a one-off talk, let's do something. I'm much more in seeing, I just want to see people really maximize their potential, and I know monitoring really is a core to that.
So when you're talking, let's just say a gym or a trainer or a coach takes on monitoring. Let's just say the scenarios happen. And so what am I getting as the person that's engaged you, and what am I getting as the consumer of your monitoring?
Well, you'll get a fully customizable, what we've customized for you from all our information that we've got over the years. So we know the key variables that to monitor. So you basically get that entire thing, and then you have a dashboard on a daily basis identifying where your people are at. We'll also train you on what you need to look for in respect to monitoring, and what I look for, and how the alerts are set up. You'd have alerts sent to you on a daily basis and say, okay, Greg's outside his optimal zone. And what it is then it's a text message, a phone call. Greg, how you going? And then, what I say is humans need other humans, and humans love to be cared for.
Yep.
And this is, for me, real service, because you're actually there for your people. And I found many, many years ago when I was a personal trainer that people might be only able to see you once a week. And then you'd think, okay, what's going on all those other days? And then with this, you can stay in tune with them. You can set them a program. They put in their information in respect to what they did for their program that day. Did they do it? You can then text them and go, hang on, why didn't you do the training that was on your, that we programmed? It's the same for physiotherapists. I always think physiotherapy is fascinating, is because people go to physiotherapy, they'll go once, they say to you, okay, I need you to do all those exercises. 95% of the time, people don't do them. All right. How about if you're a physiotherapist that you do this, you're also monitoring your person, and then you can see whether they're doing that's service.
That is service. That's great service. So from my perspective, when you are monitoring me and still are, obviously I don't get the Rolls Royce beautiful pictures because you call me and tell me where I'm at, and it's very hands-on with you. But so say I implemented, I went further into a gym as a gym owner, and I've got 100 clients that I've got my PTs looking after, and I put this monitoring in place. What's the consumer going to get out of this? What makes them want to do that monitoring?
Well, the consumer then gets a dashboard that can come back to them so they can see their data. And then the other thing is what is really good is that we can incorporate a lot of the tech that's out there. Mm-hmm. So for instance, not to advertise, but like the Apple Watch we do work with. So we have full integration of the data that comes from the Apple Watch into our system.
Okay.
You can see there, I'm really into this Aura Ring at the moment. So I've been trialing that, and I've found it really really positive for sleep. So that data can just go straight into our system as well. So we've got that objective data as well as the subjective data. And so all that data comes in, that objective stuff, without you even having to do anything.
Yeah, okay.
So you can get that return to you. See, so many people are using the Apple Watch, right?
Yep.
So many people are using a Fitbit. They're getting data, but it's dead data if they don't understand and turn that into insight.
Yep, that's good. That's strong.
So
yeah.
we make it insight. So you've got a Garmin. I know you've got a Garmin. So that information from the Garmin can go into Apple Health, which then can flow into our system as well.
Okay.
So it really, it's a really powerful tool. Look, there will be some people that are not interested in quantifying themselves.
Yep.
They're not into
see that every day.
Yeah. But I think often that's because the data hasn't been put into a form that's best for them. So that's what we like to have a chat about. What do you want to know? What do you want to record? What's important for you?
I do know that when you were monitoring Nathan and I, you were even customizing it to the values that the staff and ourselves put together around the company, like those values. And as leaders, were we honoring those values? And it was really interesting to see where you could go with this monitoring. Like, I know we pushed you in a few areas there you probably hadn't gone before, but I think that's what people need to look at when they're doing this is they're not getting an off-the-shelf app that is what it is. When they start working with you, it's what are we trying to achieve here? What's the vision here? And let's make that happen. Because you've got the ability to white paper and change the app. Oh, I'm going to use the word app. Do you want to talk more about what I'm talking about here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So the system that we use, we can completely customize it for any company.
Yep.
And we're not talking big corporates, because what's interesting to us is the small and medium businesses are very interesting because you don't have a people and culture HR department.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And so it's basically outsourcing the development of your staff to us at a significantly cheaper rate than having full-time staff on that you've got to deal with. So basically that's what we work with. And, we will work with very small companies and just looking after their key people where it's even more important of doing this. And yes, you could have, we can have daily questions, which are basically around a person's health, but then we could have weekly tools that look into specifically your mission and values. I'm really big on, organizations have values and mission statements and vision statements.
Yep. They file them away when they're finished.
That's the thing to do. But I'm about, are you living those values?
Absolutely.
Are you leading those values? And that can become part of it as well and part of our system. And we've been able to put any questions into a structure that mathematically, through the work that we've done, come up with the score that we require.
Yeah, and for those people that, when I was talking previously about monitoring me, you are monitoring myself and my wellness on a daily basis, but you're also monitoring weekly how I was acting as a leader in the business based on the values that have been put forward. And that was the one that really opened my eyes, because at first I thought, oh God, this is garbage. Like, here we go. I'm putting this crap in again. I've been a great leader. Do you know what I mean? And like, I'm saying that it's a bit of a joke off the cuff thing. But once that data built up week after week after week after week, you definitely start to see some trends on how I acted, and probably didn't realize that I did a lot of things that I did from that monitoring that came out in relation to those values and leadership programs that we put in place here that Nathan and myself and Cherie were monitored on. So it was, for those people out there, it's really interesting when it comes to monitoring it. It's just not a white box theory. It's really what you want to get out of it. And that's probably the big thing to get out of monitoring is what do you need out of it?
Yeah, and that's right. And that's why, very much I developed the Affirm model. Mm-hmm. And the Affirm model is how I go about all my work. And there's a chapter of that in self-science, and I talk about it. Now, the Affirm model is the first step of that is analyze. So it's about coming in and doing an analysis of the organization, the player, the individual. In anything that I do this. The situation, whatever it is, it's about analyzing it first, okay? Seeing getting as much information like a needs analysis as possible before then the next step, F, is formulating a plan. So this is a formulation of a plan of attack.
Yep.
Then, which is a little bit unique to us, we forecast the outcome. So we forecast an outcome. So we predict what the outcome could be. We implement it, okay? And then on a daily basis, we reflect on it. But at the center of that is we monitor it, okay? And the monitoring helps our reflection. And then it's an agile plan that we need to, if we have to, adjust. So what happens is most of the time, people just go into implementation. And this is even for anyone writing a program. Right back to, you're a personal trainer, you're writing an exercise program. Are you really doing an analysis of your person? So part of that analysis might be, yes, you do some basic testing, but are you really, you need to get as much information about that person as possible before you go into the implementation stage or the formulation of a plan. Because can I tell you, one of the biggest reasons people drop out of exercise and adherence to exercise is poor is because the analysis stage has been poor.
Well, there's a free bit of advice for all our coaches and trainers out there.
Well, absolutely. And also for individuals, because you are not being honest during the analysis stage. Or if you're a trainer, you're not asking the right question, because often we just get so biased that we're going to put them on this program. And I've said it before, us trainers, coaches or whatever, we love exercise. The people you're speaking to, they don't.
That's interesting.
There's no point you giving them a 3-day a week or 4-day a week split program or whatever, X, Y, or Z, a high intensity program and this, and this. And they're not being honest with you and going, hang on, I'm not going to do that. They might do it for a couple of weeks and then they're out. That's not success. Success for your client is that from the day you start exercising with them, that they never stop.
That's awesome.
And I don't care if that means they're walking 2 minutes out the door. I'm gonna give a bigger round of applause to a trainer that has someone walking 5 minutes out the door and 5 minutes back, and that person does that for the rest of their life, than that someone that does 6 months of incredibly hard, tough training and that sort of stuff and get a fantastic looking physique, and then 3 years down the track, they're not exercising.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We might wrap up this first part on monitoring. How do people contact you?
Easiest way, my personal email, drcraigduncan@gmail.com.
Is that DR or DOCTOR?
DR.
Craig Duncan at
gmail.com, or everywhere on social media, just at Dr Craig Duncan.
And if I want to read something before I call you, because I'm still thinking it's out of my price range and my clients don't get it and I don't understand what you two have just spoken about for 40 minutes, where can they go to get more information?
I think the easiest way is to read Self-Science.
Yep.
Yeah. My new book is easy.
How do I get my hands on that?
It's on Amazon, but the easiest way is probably just go to my website, drcraigduncan.com.au. Go to that site, have a look at the book, and then, I'm very open to you asking me questions. Because, look, you can go to performanceia.com.au, the business, but really we're about, you contact us, tell us the issue, because I've got to analyze you rather than just say this is the reason.
Yep.
But think, are you, a little bit more than a coffee a week, $1 a day?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
That's what it's about.
So, mate, thanks for coming on board. I think a lot of people are probably going to listen to this and go, that's probably a little difficult for me to understand, but I think you've put it across. It's low cost and it's high value. It's about keeping people training, and that's what we want. Yeah,
and often one of the best ways to do it is, if you're thinking of doing this yourself for your clients, is to contact us and you can trial it on yourself.
Yeah, nice.
And
Perfect.
That's what we do. Yeah, we do that often for people just to see, okay, this is what it means. This makes sense. And yeah.
Mate, once again, it's been great having a chat. Thanks for talking to us about monitoring. I think whether you're a corporate, whether you're a gym, whether you're a trainer, or whether you're a team, I really believe that most teams think this is only for elite teams, but it's not. You can definitely look at all levels of sport, and it's all about the athlete or the individual at the end, isn't it?
It's always about people.
Yeah.
And that's what body science is so great. And I've got to tell you, your Shred Ultra, you got to have it.
It took me a while to get you on it, mate, but now it's going to take me a while to get you off it.
No, that's why I'm so hyped up today.
I love it. Thanks for coming on board. Thanks for being part of everything, mate. We'll make sure that people can contact you. Anyone that rings our office will get led through.
Okay, great. Good to see you, Greg.
You too, mate. Bye.
See you.
Today's podcast was brought to you by our partners in Fit, Happy and Healthy, ASN, Nutrition Warehouse, DY Discount Vitamins, Fat Burners Only, Evelyn Faye, Mr. Supplement, or find a retailer online at bodyscience.com.au/retailers.